I'm Alexandra. I do movie reviews sometimes, and tonight we're talking about Night House. I saw it last night, and literally stop what you're doing and go see it right now. It is really, really a good movie. Honestly, if you watch the trailer for it, it's probably not at all what you think that it's going to be. Actually, I don't think that the trailer really gives away too much anyway. It actually gives just enough to draw you in and really want to know more. And from the get-go, the movie did not disappoint. First of all, it's a very original story idea. It is acted so well. The lead actress who plays Beth, you cannot take your eyes off of her. But everybody, though, acts so well in the movie. And I remember thinking, throughout the movie, how refreshing it was that I couldn't see what was gonna happen, because every time I thought I knew, it turned a corner. Rather than the remakes or the money grabs where you know exactly what you're gonna get, this one was a great surprise going into it, not knowing what to expect, and really, really loving it and being really, really scared. This movie, as I was watching it, reminded me, and I haven't heard anybody else say this, but it reminded me a lot of What Lies Beneath, The Hollow Man, and to be fair, just the invisible person part of it. And kind of Donnie Darko too. If you watch it, you might see what I mean. And it felt like a movie that could have been made in the early to mid 2000s. Just had that feeling of a lot of the movies at the time that were similar, that were kind of like suspenseful, thriller kind of movies. The movie is set in, I guess, upstate New York. It's New York, but it's not New York City. It's out in nature. It's a lake house. It follows Beth, like I said, she's a school teacher, and Owen, who is an architect that designed the house that she is living in now without him because he has passed away. It's called Night House because all the things that are happen at night. And she thinks that it's all her husband. She's somebody who doesn't believe that there's anything after death. And so you kind of see how she reacts to what is going on based, as somebody who believes that there's nothing beyond this life. The things that struck me about her character is just how strong she was. If a horror movie was based off of me, there would be no movie. She just faced everything head on, and I'm scared of the dark. If I had encountered anything that she encountered in this movie, I wouldn't have been as strong as her. So it's a really, really strong female lead character. So just to wrap up the spoiler-free part before I really start talking about the movie, because I have a lot to say about it because I liked it so much, but they're calling it a psychological thriller, and there's a twist that you're not seeing, that you're not going to be able to see coming, and it is a genuinely scary movie. For some of the jump scares, but the jump scares are not gratuitous. They are purposeful, and the twist is really, really scary. And I think that the movie also ended really well. I think that there are some movies that could be good throughout and really build you up and then disappoint you in the end, but I was actually really happy with the ending of this one. So overall, a great surprise. I wasn't expecting anything, and sometimes that's the best way to go into a movie. So definitely recommend that you go see it. And if you just want to hear the spoilers and my thoughts on the movie, then keep watching. there's this song in the movie that is used a couple of times to signal to Beth that Owen is in the house. And it always happens late at night and startles her out of her sleep. And when the song came on, like, you're in that atmosphere with her and it scares you too. And I remember when I was watching the movie, I was just like, yeah, that's scary, but also, what is that song though? Because it's so pretty, but it also sets a creepy atmosphere really well. To be fair, I think any song that you heard that jolted you out of your sleep when you're the only one in your house would be scary no matter what it is. But this one is so effective. It also conveys a lot of emotion because I think it's meant to be their song. So it's really emotional and terrifying for her. And so when I got home, I looked up what the song was because I immediately just had to have it and had to listen to the whole thing. So the song is called The Cavalry Cross by Richard and Linda Thompson. I've never heard of them, but it's from the 70s. And I will just play a little snippet. And then when it gets into it, that part kind of becomes like this really creepy but beautiful, like drone or kind of almost like a humming. So I have been listening to that on repeat all day long. I really, really like that song. But I mean, so at that part where everything kind of just like goes nuts in the house and she's startled out of her sleep, that was actually terrifying. There were a few jump scares that, there was like 7 people in the movie theater, but when they would happen, I would just be like, oh fuck, and everybody laughed because I was the only one that really made a noise. But there were just some, like, the one part in the movie where everything, like the whole house shook and scared the hell out of her. It was like the first big arrival of what is in the house. And honestly, that scared the crap out of me. Like, I have not been that scared in a movie since I don't know when, probably since I was a little kid. So it was very, very, very effective. Kind of reminds me, at some point I should do a video on this because I still find it fascinating, but like for 10 years straight, starting when I was 20 up until I was 30, 35 now. And every now and then, like, I'll have a couple little things, but it really doesn't happen anymore. But, starting when I was 20, I would have these weird instances at night where I would be asleep and I would wake up screaming because I thought I saw somebody standing over me or standing in the room, and it would just jolt me and it felt so real. And that is what it made me think of when it came to that part in the movie. But those things are so interesting to me, and it happened to me for like 10 years, and I don't know what would prompt it. I don't know why it started. I don't know what finally stopped after a decade, but I have a lot of stories about that I think would be pretty cool to make a video about in the future. In the movie, there's a lot of reverse, like the mirror of something else, as Beth is going through Owen's things and trying to figure out why he ended his life. She finds the blueprints for their house, but also another house that is the reverse floor plan of the home that she's in. She has these visions or dreams, and she always wakes up on the floor, whether it's in the bathroom or Owen's office or the floor of her bedroom. She always wakes up and doesn't know if what she saw was real. And in her dreams, she sees a house across the lake from her home. And she'll eventually go walking in the woods looking for this house. And she finds it partially built, but she can't trust her own mind because she doesn't know what's real and what's not anymore, because every single night something happens, and it only happens at night. But when she goes into the house, she finds this weird voodoo doll looking thing. I think it's a voodoo doll. And it's a wooden carving of a woman who's contorted with nails sticking out of everywhere. And it scares her. She doesn't know what it means. And she goes to the house a couple of times, but she eventually finds these bodies of women. What prompted her to start looking into all of this initially was she saw a picture in Owen's phone that she thought looked like her, but it wasn't quite her. She didn't have the shirt, and she looked at it closer and she knew it wasn't her. She started looking because when all the happenings began, she got text messages from Owen to come downstairs after the radio would turn itself on. And then the next morning she would look and they were all gone. But while she was looking in his phone, because she had all of his belongings that he left behind, when she was looking in his phone, she found these pictures. And then when she went into his laptop and found this particular file that this one picture was in, she found more. So many women that he had been photographing from afar clearly weren't her. Some of them looked more like her than others. And so you do start getting the feeling that he's a serial killer. He's probably killing women because he really wants to kill her, but he loves her, so he's killing women that look like her. This is the direction that I thought that it was going. She finds these books that are also in Owen's belongings, and it kind of shows like what he was following. It talks about voodoo and tricking something, and you find out what he was doing in the end. So all this time, Beth thought that the presence in the house was Owen. She's somebody that didn't believe in the afterlife, but her husband ended his life on the lake by the house. She had seen him in some of her dreams, and then there's this like invisible force in the house that she, of course, would assume is him. I'm getting chill. Oh my god. I don't know if you can see. You probably can't see. I'm getting chill. I'm getting goosebumps because this is the part that terrified me. She thinks it's him, she talks to him, she begs him to talk to her and find out what happened, because she finds these bodies in the house and she thought she knew her husband, and she still doesn't think that he would do those things. So she really is desperate to make sense of everything. So she screams for him to make his presence known, because she was in the shower and she heard the radio turn on again after she discovered these bodies. She comes out and asks him to come back, and she looks at the bathroom mirror, and then there's a message written on the mirror that says "here." And she senses him walk into the bathroom, and you can see like the indentations of her skin where he's touching her. And at that moment you think, please don't be ghost sex. Like, please just don't cheapen this movie. And it doesn't, thankfully. She's talking to him, and she says his name. And then the voice says, "I'm not Owen." And then pretty much all hell breaks loose. She gets attacked. She starts seeing visions of the women that have been attacked previously, And then she goes downstairs and she sees Owen, but it's not Owen. It's something else. So another part of this story is when Beth was in high school, she died. She was in a car accident. She was dead for 4 minutes. And during that time, she says that she saw nothing. And she either did see nothing or can't remember, because what is in the house isn't Owen. It is whatever came back from her from those 4 minutes when she died. So for me, I don't know if it's death, if it's meant to be the devil or a demon or just some kind of hitchhiker. I have no idea. But apparently all this time, and they were coming up on their 15th wedding anniversary. All this time, this being had been whispering in Owen's ear to kill her, to kill Beth, to bring her back to death. And he thought that he could trick whatever this was by killing women that looked like her, but it never worked. And he got tired of doing it, so that's why he ended his life. And that's when we start getting more of visions. So she ends up she's kind of in a trance. She's being influenced by this being, and she winds up on the boat in the lake by her house, and she was able somehow to keep the gun that Owen ended his life with, and she has it out there with her. But where she is, so in real life, she's on this boat, but in her mind, she's in this dark place that has 2 moons. I think one of them is red, and it's showing this, mirror image of the world. And when I looked up the movie and what other people were saying about it, and I can see it now, but there's supposed to be all this symbolism, and it's supposed to be a metaphor for depression and things like that. So she hears her best friend calling to her when she's in her trance, and she puts the gun down and doesn't surrender to this creature. And when she's rescued off the boat, her friend is there, her neighbor is there, and her neighbor is looking at the boat because he can kind of see this shadow, and Beth can still see it too. So when I saw this, I thought, is she safe now, or is this going to haunt her forever? Is she going to one day surrender to it? And in that way, I can definitely see how this, it's a metaphor for depression, for mental illness, for the condition that we can find ourselves in from time to time that can be hard to get out of, because life is hard. And if you struggle with thoughts or feelings, there are things that can help, but really it's a daily struggle, a lifelong struggle, and something that you're always going to have to deal with. So I can definitely see how this creature is a metaphor for all that. But that is where it ends, and I was very happy with the way that it ended. As I may have said before, I think that some movies really just don't know how to end a movie, or some people just don't really know how to end a movie, and it's not done well. But I think that it concludes it, but it leaves it open enough where you're just like, wow, that was intense. But on my way home, I was creeped out on my drive home. When I got home, I kept thinking about that ending and was creeped out by it. I was creeped out all the rest of the night. It was just such a good movie. It was so effective in everything that it tried to do. And as I said, it's the first movie that has really scared me probably since I was a little kid. It's original. And so the part where it turns out that it's not Owen was the scariest part for me. And the part of the invisible force that is attacking you reminds me of, I have a lot of recurring dreams, and there's one dream that I have where I'm in this house, and there's one room in the house, I think it's my bedroom, and there's this invisible presence there that when I realize that it's there, it becomes violent. And I have that dream a lot. I've had that dream well before this movie. I've been having it for years, but this movie reminded me of that dream that I have from time to time. I was actually really scared that I was gonna have a nightmare last night, but I'm pretty sure I was just too exhausted, and I don't remember dreaming anything last night. But usually my dreams are scary. I have nightmares more than anything. But in my research and trying to find out a little bit more about the movie and who made it, I found out the person who made it or directed it was somebody named David Bruckner, who I wasn't familiar with. I don't think I've seen any of his other movies, but he is, I read, going to direct the new reimagining of... Something flashed across my phone. It's weird. I don't know what it was. Looking at my notes for this movie. But there's going to be a reimagining of Hellraiser, and now I have a lot of hope for this reimagining because apparently Mr. Bruckner is developing a really good reputation within the horror community. So very excited for that. Candyman is coming out next weekend. Very excited to see that. I already bought my ticket, and I'll be doing a review video on that as well. But I think that is going to be it for this review. If you saw Night House, let me know what you thought. And I will see you next week when we talk about Candyman. And if you like this video, feel free to give it a like and subscribe for more videos. I've been getting recommendations or requests or just, I don't know, like advice, comments that I should get into ASMR. Still have plans to do that. Still researching how I should do that. But I'm very interested in that. So if you would like to see those kind of videos from me, let me know. If you like these movie reviews, let me know, subscribe, all of that, and I'll see you in my next video.